This is Hunt Nebraska, the official podcast for insight into Nebraska's hunting and shooting sports community. Be sure to give us a follow on Facebook, our space for sharing stories, information, tips, and techniques. Now, Hunt Nebraska.
Welcome back into the Hunt Nebraska cabin. We have started officially with hunting seasons for, I would say, the fall, even though we're not quite in the fall. And with that, requirements, making sure we have all we need. And we want to talk about hunter education today. But before we start talking about it, we're going to do a round of introductions. I'm Kyle Gasson, the Hunter Ed Coordinator. With us, we have Megan Price, our hunting and shooting sports. I failed.
You almost had it.
I was so close.
There's so many words in it. Hunting and shooting sports outreach coordinator.
Outreach coordinator. That's the word I was missing.
Yep.
And then we also brought in a special guest today. We have Joe Bober, a long-standing Hunter Ed instructor with us today. Welcome in, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep. And we also should also say welcome back to Megan. Haven't seen you for a little while. And may I say why?
Yeah, you may.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Well, you've been busy with the new little one in the house.
Yep, I was on maternity leave.
Yeah. First kid.
First kiddo.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome to the life of no sleep.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it's definitely been, this is second week back, some adjusting with, how you have to still wake up in the middle of the night and then get to work the next day. So, yep.
Mm-hmm. Still in daycare and dealing with now in the back of your mind, there's always that other worry of everything being taken care of.
Yeah, I was going to leave my phone in my office and then I was like, I probably should bring that with me now. Like if someone needs to get a hold of me. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more tethered to me than it may have before.
Yeah, and when they turn a teenager, you won't get any sleep either.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. A different kind of sleepless nights. So
they're not keeping you up because they're being loud. They're keeping you up because
you're worried about
what's
them.
going on with them.
Yeah.
Does that ever go away, Joe?
No. It goes away for about 4 years, and then the grandkids come along.
Oh.
And then I call her Gramzilla. Gramzilla takes over worrying about the kids.
Worrying about the kids, worrying about the grandkids.
All their grandmothers are.
Oh, good. So, yeah. Well, we're excited to have a new one in our Hunter Ed family here and back office family. So we're excited to see him. You brought him around a couple of times, so we're happy to see her. But I'm sure at some point, might be 10 years, but we'll eventually get them in here in the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And there'll definitely be stories.
Yes.
They're going to be fun fishing, teaching them how to fish and
hunt
and catch frogs and lightning bugs. And that's a fun part.
Oh, yeah. No, that's all the stuff. Like the crying in the middle of the night, it's fine. But that is, the stuff that I'm more looking forward to is, having her hunt and fish and, teaching her all about the outdoors. So.
Well, I think you'll be a great teacher because you've received quite a bit of training. You've been a Hunter Ed instructor now for a little while, for a few years. And
yeah. I was trying to think how long it's been. I want to say 5 years.
5 years?
I think so.
Very good. And I've been here teaching Hunter Ed now since 2017. So that would be about 9 years is where I'm at. Most of my time as law enforcement, but now getting into as a Hunter Ed coordinator. And Joe, how long have you been teaching Hunter Ed?
Do you really want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yes, everybody wants to hear it.
52 years consecutively.
That's a long time.
52 years. And Megan, how long have we had Hunter Ed?
I think 52 years.
52 years.
I can't do the math that fast, but I'm going to guess 52 years.
I actually started teaching before it was a law.
Mandated. Mm-hmm.
So altogether, it's been about 56 years going through with the commission doing this.
Wow.
So.
That's right, yeah, because we started about, 1969 is when we got the approval to start, we're getting the mandate that the state's going to start taking over it, start focusing in. That's when we started training volunteers. It's a volunteer-led program. The classes, 95% of the classes are all taught by volunteers who aren't actually working for the agency, just people who love teaching and passing on that heritage to the next generation. So they had about 5 years to build up that.
In 1970 is when a law enforcement officer named Dick Wilson, I knew real well, and the Omaha office, which was, back on Pacific Street back then, got to know those guys and kind of got involved because it was something that needed to be done, and it was up and coming. So it's come a long ways in 56 years.
Yeah, a lot of, we'll talk about it here a little bit later, but a lot of changes have happened through it. But it's also one of the most successful education programs ever in conservation history. We're talking, we went, just in the state alone, we were averaging 25 hunting incidents every year, 5+ deaths every year related to hunting back in the 70s. That numbers have dramatically decreased. We're down to averaging about 5 hunting incidents and less than 1 fatality every year with hunting, making it one of the safest activities to do out there. I always love doing that little question with the kids of what's more dangerous. So we ask football, basketball, those, and it's like, well, hunting's way safer than doing any of those. But the question I always like to ask is billiards, playing pool. Is that more dangerous than hunting or not? And I know you guys know the answer.
Yes.
It's a loaded question. I'm preaching to the choir, but it is playing billiards, playing pool is more dangerous than going out hunting. So
interesting. I hadn't heard that specific comparison, but there's a similar one with archery. And I think like the only thing safer than the sport of archery is like ping pong. I think like every other sport is more dangerous, like bowling included, things like that. But archery is safer. So I appreciate the comparison there.
Yep. So
and the mentorship I've watched over the years, how that the parents who took hunter safety class come to their students or come with their child to the hunter safety class and are more knowledgeable. When we first started teaching the class, everybody had their opinion and everybody was different what was right and what was wrong. And then after you explained it to them, you could see the light bulb come on in their head going, oh yeah, that's the way it should be done. And now when the parents bring their children to it, or children, they're young adults if they're old enough to go hunting, then all of a sudden you can see that they're passing on what they learned, and it's making the whole outdoors that much safer because of the knowledge is all the way through 4 or 5 generations.
Yeah, it's gotten everybody on the same page.
Right.
So let's back up really quick and talk about when do you need hunter ed? What's the age requirements? And then like, if I'm in that, like, oh, I need it. Like, how do I go about getting it?
yeah, so the requirement, the law. Always have to go back to the law.
Yes.
Because we go past just what the law is. We like to go above and beyond. But by mandates, anybody ages 12 through 29 hunting with a firearm has to go through our firearm hunter education course. And then that same age range, 12 through 29, who wants to archery hunt any big game animals, so your deer, antelope, pronghorn, mountain sheep. Yep, pronghorn. Yeah. Jeez, I'm struggling today.
You got it.
They are required to have the bow hunter ed course. Now we do encourage anybody who's going hunting, especially if they're new and they're not within that requirement, to still take the course. You have to be 11 to take our course to get certified. But obviously, you can, if you're a late onset hunter, somebody in their 30, 40, 50s that want to get into hunting, you still can get into it and still take the course. And we do have different course options. So we have 3 main course options. We have our traditional in-person course taught by Joe Bober and other wonderful volunteers who spend time out of their day to go and teach those courses. They can range anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. You can take an individual one, so just like a bow hunter only or firearm only. Or we've been getting more and more into doing our combo course, where we get to teach both firearm and bow hunter ed in one class. It's a little bit longer class, but it's actually shorter than if you take each of the other ones individually, because usually the class is about 8 hours, the combo is 12 hours. So
Right, and there's some overlap in what they're covering in like a firearm only and a bow only. So then when they combine, then they just touch on that stuff once, obviously.
right.
Yeah, it's you go through the basics in all 3 of the courses, which is a safety part of it, and then you get down to the techniques and what you should do right and what is wrong with each type of firearm or bow and how it should be handled properly. So it works out good because a lot of hunters in Nebraska overlap. They're bow hunters and they're firearm hunters, which is good. And if they pass that information on, they're going to have a safer environment out there.
Yep.
Well, and there's a lot of hunters who get into firearm. I wouldn't necessarily always say is easier, but you don't have to be. You can be only 200 yards away and still drop an animal. Versus archery, you're going to be closer to that 20 yards away. So there's a lot of hunters who like that additional challenge or that different stage of life where they might want to go in more, or they have
longer season
to hunt, or they want, or maybe they have changes in lifestyles where as a kid you're running around every direction as a high schooler, but right after high school or right after college you have some more time and you want to go pick up a new skill to learn.
Before the kids.
Sidebar on who has to have it. One of the things in the classes I teach is if I have the adults there and they're going to be there all 3 nights, I recommend them getting certified.
Oh, yeah.
Because I actually had a father one time who won a trip hunting trip to Colorado, and he did. He went through the course and never took it with his son, never got certified. And you have to be certified no matter where you're from in Colorado. It's non-resident, no matter what age. And he couldn't go on the trip because he wasn't certified.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, it's good in all 50 states.
Yes.
So that's a sidebar I tell everybody is, once you take this here, you don't have to take it again. I recommend you doing refresher courses, but you're certified, and I believe it's certified in Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, so there are standards, national and international standards. So any course you completed through Nebraska is good in all their 50 states. And then we also have the U.S. territories it's good in. Canada and Mexico have signed in to the governing bodies, the International Hunter Ed Association. So they have signed in. There's actually a lot of South American countries currently signing in. I know Spain, and then I think Cuba was signing in here recently. Cool. And so we get some other countries there, as well as some there across the sea or across the ocean too. It's slowly building more and more as we go. Now, again, they have different, like I said, there's different set of standards for each one. But yes, we have been honoring those as long as they meet the standards for those international ones or the or the national standards for anybody in the U.S., then we're good.
And it really helps out because where I teach my classes in South Omaha, we're off the Air Force Base. And I have a class going now, and I had a father ask me last night about in Europe because he's going to have to go over to Spain for 6 months. And I'm glad you just answered the question I was going to have to ask you because I didn't know the answer. And that's what's nice is if the instructor doesn't know the answer, he can always rely on the Game Parks Commission to find out for you and get back. So we appreciate that.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, I have connections with all the people there on those boards, so I have able to get those answers pretty quick. Because I had one. We actually got I had a question about Argentina, but then the U.S. territories is another one I got constant questions on. And we actually have an instructor who just came from Guam to Nebraska that's now going to be teaching here in Nebraska too. Cool. So yeah, it's kind of cool to help bring them along and see people from different backgrounds, but yet when it comes to hunting, safety, the ethics, the responsibilities, it crosses state lines, national lines of what it is to be a safe, ethical, and responsible hunter.
It all boils down to knowledge of safety and knowledge of what you're doing out in the field.
Well, Joe, I want to get in. You've been
hold on. We talked about the traditional, but we have the other options. We need to finish talking about that.
Catch me up. Yeah.
So,
sorry, we got off.
So we have our traditional class. It's easy to get distracted when we have Joe here because he has so much knowledge. Yes. I know. So you have the traditional, and then there's also two other options. There's the hybrid and the online. So talk about those really quick, and then we'll start harassing Joe.
So yes, we have the online course. So if you're age 16 and older, you can complete the entire course online. Once you complete the online course, you'll be certified right after that. You'll be emailed stuff right afterwards and told how to get your Hunter Ed certificate. If you are under 16, so 11 to 15, complete the online course, you do have to then go to an in-person, what we call Hunt Safe session. It's a 2-hour review. It's all classroom. And we'll review pretty much 3 main elements that cover all of, or it's about 4 main elements that cover pretty much would cover every hunting incident that would ever happen. And that's, firearm and bow equipment safety and just basic handling safety.
Yep.
What we call shoot, don't shoot scenarios, deciding, when you should pull that trigger or let go of that arrow and not. And then for Nebraska, a big emphasis for us is elevated hunting. So our tree stand safety. So that this last year, that was about 75% of our hunting incidents were related to elevated hunting. And so being able to really hit those key points and really emphasize, do they know that material? Do they understand that from the online course, and just kind of hammer that in, make sure to be safe. So once they complete that Hunt Safe, then they'll be certified there. So those are our 3 options. Obviously, our in-person courses are all free. There's no cost to them. Our online course does have a fee because it's a vendor and costs money to run everything online. So there is a fee for that to run the system. Otherwise, everything else for Hunter Ed is free throughout the course, and that includes all the materials that you get to take home. We get a bag full of stuff. I'm sure, Joe, when you're handing out stuff, it's like, wow, I can't believe we get this much stuff anymore.
It's amazing from where we started, when we had 1 book and 1 pamphlet, to what we have now. And what they can do online is just amazing. At first, I was opposed to the online one because I like the personal contact. But after getting involved, especially with the Hunt Safe, where within that 2 hours, you can teach them ethics too and explain to them about what it's like to be an ethical sportsman out there, which is something that on the online, in person is just so much easier to explain to them. And the Hunt Safe is a great experience. I really enjoy that.
I agree. I like the Hunt Safes too. I feel like it's kind of like when you do a traditional, it feels like I'm cramming a bunch of information into them. And I like that Hunt Safe where they can do some of it on their own, and then we can come in and review and really hit the stuff that they really, really need to know.
And if they don't understand it, they can come back and ask you.
I just like to see the light come in on
you
in their eyes. You can tell in person. You can see that light come on, and it makes sense for them.
All of a sudden they go, wow, I know what you're talking about now. It makes you feel good when you see that.
It does. And they could feed off of, watching Hunter Ed instructors teach, if you guys have never been to a Hunter Ed class, all those instructors, they're volunteers, right? Like they're giving us their time for free. And it's because they're really passionate. So I think that in person, they get to see that passion from their Hunter Ed instructors, which I think is invaluable. The online's great, covers everything you need to know, but the passion from the instructors is
and I love
great.
Seeing also the young people get the passion for being outdoors. Some saying, oh, I'm taking it because my dad hunts. And then all of a sudden at the end of the course, they're going, wow, this is great.
Yeah,
I'm going to get off that video game and I'm going to go out and I'm just going to walk through the woods and learn about nature, which they would have never done if they hadn't taken the course.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just did 2 Hunt Safe classes here at the center, and which we had about 40 kids in each class, and we offer live fire after the class. So it's not mandatory, but we offer it to them to come shoot. And so they went and shot 22s. And I remember asking this one kid after they got done shooting, did you enjoy it? What do you think? Or I think I asked, did you have fun? Or was it fun? And it wasn't even just just a yes. It was a yes. It's a full head shake and excited about it. And so, so
that's what keeps instructors coming back, is when they see that person get excited, because that's what it's all about.
And then the other part I throw out there, they actually just completed a study, because we'll get that question, which one students learn more, which one's safer. And they did a study, one on retention of how well students, how well they do on the test and questions missed from doing it online versus in person. And they found out that actually online does a little bit better job. Students do a little bit better on the test from doing online versus in person. But then the bigger question goes in, well, are they able to apply it in the field? And studies show that hybrid, online, or in person all are the same after that course. Like, they've done studies of how many hunting instances based on the different types of knowledge, and it's all comes back to there's no change in from doing online versus in person or that. So they're all equally safe out in the field. So it's just
with the online course, the younger generation, that is what they're used to.
Yep.
Yes.
And so they adapt to it more.
Yep.
That's how they learn in school. That's how they learn, how to do stuff in life. And now this relates back to it too, where they comprehend it more because they're used to that format, I believe.
Yep. That's exactly right. So, but yeah, it's just kind of a great sign to see that, and pretty much what they're promoting at the national level is offer all three, because then everybody learns a little bit differently, as you're saying there. But I think that's enough going to the statistics and me telling studies. I think we need to bug Joe here a little bit about, let's start with first. You started back, like I said, 56 years ago getting into Hunter Ed. What initially made you get into hunter education other than a phone call asking you to help out? Why did you say yes?
I thought I knew it all. I was I read everything. I was 19 years old, 18 years old, and when you're 18, you have all the answers in the world. Well, we were out pheasant hunting one day, and it started pouring rain, and we all ran back to the car because we were getting drenched. And after we got in the car, I was unloading my shotgun inside the car, which I now looking back, 56 years was the dumbest thing in the world, and I almost shot my best friend. I put my hand, I was ejecting the shells, my hand was wet and it slipped and hit the trigger, and I blew a hole through the ceiling and put powder burns on his forehead.
Oh my gosh.
And I almost quit hunting. It scared me that bad. But I loved to hunt so much, I thought, well, maybe I ought to learn how to do it right. And that's when I got a hold of Dick Wilson and went to the Omaha Game Parks Commission office. And back then they had 3 guys in that office, and I got talking to them, and they says, hey, we're doing this and we're doing that. And, we have a 16 millimeter film you could watch, because I wanted to learn more. And then about 2 months later, they asked me, how would you like to start teaching? And I says, well, if I learn enough, I'll try, And that's how I got started. And And it had a lot to do with the people in the Omaha office, because rather than just say, okay, here's a manual, go study it, they sat and they talked to me and they said, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you did everything right except for one thing, and that one thing almost cost some of their lives. So you need to start doing everything right. And from there I decided, well, maybe I could teach young people from my mistakes, and to this day, every time I teach a class, I've got a class going now, I learn something from people. I'm 75 years old and I'm still learning every day. And that's why I tell the young people, you never have enough knowledge.
Yep, absolutely. And then, like I said, through that time, like I said, you keep learning. What's been some of the larger changes you've seen in hunter education from, essentially back then it was all focused on safety, right?
Yes.
And now it's expanded quite a bit more. What do you think has been one of the bigger changes you've seen in hunter ed? And it might even be recently, too.
When we first started teaching it, it was all about firearm safety and how to handle a gun. And then as we progressed some more, we learned about why the accidents happen, and what environment caused that accident to happen, and how people need to work together out in the field to make it a safe environment. And then as we proceeded more, we got into wildlife management, is what happens in a situation, why this animal might put you in a dangerous situation, and then why we harvest the surplus animals and why we have hunting. So now basically it's an all-around course, not just a firearm course. And that's what I explain to people. We're an outdoor education. Yes, we teach firearm safety, but also we teach ethics. We teach about wildlife management. We teach about what other people think and do and how you should react when something happens, especially there's a lot of people out there that aren't safe hunters that want to go hunting with you. Well, if they're not a safe hunter, you're the one that's going to get shot. I tell everybody, I had a dad one time say, hey, my son has a hard time taking a test. And I says, well, how about if we read it to him? And he says, well, I'd appreciate that. And I said, but what you got to realize is you got to make sure, even afterwards, that he knows how to be a safe hunter, because you're the one that's going to get shot, not him. And he really appreciated that.
Yep.
Good perspective.
But yeah, getting that, knowing that who you're hunting with is important, and then being willing to have a stance and respond to your own ethic or your own morals there of setting the standard of what you want to be. Because I think the big thing we teach there is always, you set the example what a safe and ethical hunter is. So you lead by example, essentially.
Yes, and then one of the other things over the years is we learned how to communicate with the landowner. We first started that, back in the late 60s, early 70s, there wasn't a lot of land posted back then, but also we didn't have the population and had the ability to go out hunting like we do nowadays. And so as we progressed, we learned how to communicate with the landowner, how to find out where the public lands are, how to find out, especially when the seasons are, and what's legal and illegal for, hunting with the type of firearm or hunting that animal, how to check that animal in, how to help the Game and Parks Commission with their surveys so that we're harvesting the right animals and the right amount of animals. Back when we first started, we had biologists, and they were trying to communicate to us, but basically we weren't listening to them, because we all wanted to go out and harvest everything.
Yep.
And as we matured as a organization and as hunter safety, we learned that, yes, we need to harvest the surplus, but also at the same time, we make sure that we're taking care of the other animals in the environment so that they can thrive too, because it's a whole ecosystem. It's just not pheasants we hunt or deer we hunt. That whole area involves all those animals, and we have to make sure the environment's good for all of them.
Yep, absolutely. I know that we see practices are changing all the time of how we manage to better suit, so that way the whole ecosystem, when that does better than the game species we're looking for, will do better as well. Now, we mentioned earlier a little bit of our favorite parts, or why hunters keep coming back, or why instructors keep coming back to teaching the course. So, Joe, if you had to pick one thing, what's your favorite part about teaching a hunter ed class?
I'd have to say wildlife management. And everybody kind of looks at me a little bit different than firearm safety. Well, you can only teach so much firearm safety. It's like I tell people, you have a young person 3 years old, if you're putting their hand next to the stove and it's hot and you explain it to them, they're not going to do it again, hopefully. It's the same thing. But with wildlife management, we explain why we're out there, why we're harvesting it, why you have to be safe in this environment. why when you're pheasant hunting that you make sure that you're in a straight line so that somebody doesn't walk a creek and get in front of you. And so that has to do with how the animals react when you're out in the field. And over the years, I've tried to explain to everybody, it's not about harvesting the animal. It's about the hunt. It's about going out there and enjoying it. Because if you figure out how much a pheasant costs to go out and harvest it, and trust me, my wife's got it down to the penny. Because that's a lot of shoes for her, what that pheasant costs. But, you explain to the young people, you go out there, it's a sport. And just because you don't harvest that animal doesn't mean that you're a bad hunter. It means that you're a safe, ethical hunter because you probably could have harvested that animal, but at the same time, put your hunters that were with you in danger. So you gotta enjoy it and go out and make sure you're safe and have a good time and not worried about if you're a good hunter or not.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, a good hunter is one that is always safe, and I think we talked about that. Might give some hints out here. You might want to remember that if you're going to take the course, that might be an answer somewhere. We might emphasize that quite a bit in our exams too. But
one of the things over the years too is I've learned about course participation with young people. And when the computers first come out, everybody was shy. Mm-hmm. And now that they've, everybody's computer literate, all the young people now, that's their lives. Now they get really involved in answers. And I say, raise your hand and what is the answer to this? And everybody raises their hand. Where, 35 years ago, they weren't for sure because they're thinking, well, I just read that. Is it right or wrong? So it's, as we get and mature, or the courses mature more through the electronic systems we got and the new communications, it is far better than it was 50 years ago.
Good.
All right. And I guess one final question here for you, Joe. If you hear somebody that's maybe interested in becoming a hunter ed instructor, what would you tell them or encourage them to do, or pretty much how would you encourage them to go ahead and take that next step and become an instructor?
I actually had that happen last night, halfway through the course. I mean, we take breaks because, young people just come for football or volleyball or soccer practice. So, and they're, sitting in a chair for an 11 to 14-year-old for 3 hours is a long time. At a break, one of the dads come up and says, I'm retiring here pretty soon, and I like hunting, and I like listening to you. How do I become a head education instructor? And I says, well, I took his information, and I'm going to pass it on to Kyle here. And I says, sit through the course and then talk to Kyle. And after watching the whole course, if you still feel like you want to do it, which I'm sure he does because he's pretty adamant about being a teacher and that kind of stuff, that Kyle will get with you. And then Kyle will give you instructions, and you come back through either my course or somebody else's course. And I like to say, go to 2 or 3 different courses before you start teaching on your own, because everybody teaches different. Everybody has different priorities, but our goal is the same at the end. We want safe, ethical hunters out in the field, but we also want them to enjoy it, because if they don't enjoy hunting, then they're not going to hunt anymore. So we've not accomplished what we needed. We need safe, ethical hunters that will pass on the hunting heritage for generations to come. And I've actually now had some 4th and 5th generation people come through my classes. So
Cool.
I'm old.
Or that great of a teacher.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
well, like I said, if you're interested in becoming an instructor, or if you're looking for a class, you can reach out to me. I'll actually share my office phone number, so I hope my phone number does blow up, but it's the 402-471-6134. So you can call me, we can talk on the phone. Otherwise, if you want to find information online to find a class or to find the application to become an instructor, it's at huntsafenebraska.org, and that's all spelled out throughout the whole part there. So huntsafenebraska.org. There you'll be able to look up, find the different course options we talked about, or there's a tab over to become an interested kind of instructor. You can go through that, and has the whole step process there. This time of year, we can get instructors certified in just a matter of a couple months to get them certified, and working with some of our amazing instructors like Joe and others in the area with you. So
it's a great reward to be an instructor, and one of my best rewards ever is having somebody come up that's 19, 20 years old that took my class when they were 12 and go, I've just got my first deer. And they all excited. They want to tell you about it. And it just makes your heart warm to know that person out there is enjoying hunting.
definitely a worthwhile hobby or additional. I know it's a volunteer thing. We do try to do our best to help cover whatever we can. There'll be no cost to you ever to put on a class other than your time. So, but we do appreciate all our volunteers, and the more we have, the less work it is for each of the volunteers too. So you get a big group of 7 instructors for one class. That 8 hours goes by pretty quick versus having to do it on your own. So
I also want to thank everybody at the Game and Parks Commission because you guys are great. I get all my material in time, everything I need. If I have a question, you guys answer it. You're always there for me. And for somebody that's been doing this for 56 years, it really means a lot to have that support because that helps me keep on doing what I love to do.
Well, anything we can do to support you, Joe, we appreciate because I know I bug you quite a bit on history or borrowing you to make some food for our conferences and everything else. So you not only is he a great instructor, he's also a great grill master too.
I enjoy doing it because I appreciate everybody. So
very well. Well, thanks again, Joe, for coming on, and thank you for listening here. So make sure to go find a Hunter Ed class if you need one, or reach out to me if you're interested in becoming an instructor. Otherwise, until next time, we'll see you outdoors.
Hunt Nebraska, brought to you by your Nebraska Game and Parks Commission.